I broke out in hives. I quit my first BCBA job before I even started. Not after a bad day, not after a bad week, before day one. And the craziest part is that my body knew something was wrong before I even wanted to admit it. I'm going to share with you all the red flags that I ignored and why walking away from this position literally saved my first year as a BCBA. So I passed my exam in September. Around October is when I actually started doing my job hunting. And I didn't really do job hunting per se because I just went back to the location that I was an RBT in. Because one thing that I can say is when I was an RBT, I did pick up a lot and learn a lot quicker in that clinical setting. So I assume working as a BCBA my first year, why not go back into familiar territory? And to be honest, this is a big mistake I made and many other people make when they are brand new BCBAs and they choose to go back into a familiar setting to gain their experience for their first year. And honestly, it can be harmful for your first year. And this is where red flag number 1 comes in at. So I did my interview. I immediately got the job. Like I said, I've already worked there. I didn't really leave on bad terms. I mean, I didn't necessarily leave on bad terms, and they were down. They needed a staff member, so I said, "Hey, I work there," and they were like, "You're hired," after one phone call, and I was like, "Okay, let's negotiate." I was like, "Hey, I want more money," and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We have like a fixed salary for all BCBAs at different experience levels." I said, "Okay, that's fine. I want a higher bonus though." And they were like, "Okay, we can do that." So originally, I think they were going to give me like $8,000 or $9,000, and I was like, "Okay, well, I want 13." They were like, "Okay, fine." I was like, "Dang, I should have asked for 15,000." But I was like, I got 13. I was like, "Hey, perfect. Thank you so much." However, I want that bonus to be on 2 separate paychecks because they told me it was going to be on my first official paycheck, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't want that," because 13,000 plus my first official paycheck, which is probably going to be about 2,000 or something, maybe 3,000. That's a little over 15,000. The taxes on that? No. So I was like, "Yeah, can you divide that up? Like, separate that?" They were like, "Oh, yeah, it already comes into 2 paychecks." I said, "Oh, okay, great, thank you." And then I hang up. Now I asked someone else who used to work at that company, and they told me, "No, it gets put on your first paycheck." I said, "Oh, well, they told me I can do it on 2 separate." They was like, "I don't think so. I believe mine was on my bonus and my first paycheck was all on one." I said, "Oh, okay, well, let me call the recruiter back." And I called her back, and I'm like, yeah, can I get that in writing that it's going to be on 2 separate paychecks?" They were like, "Oh, it doesn't have to be in writing because that's just how it's done." I hear you, but someone else told me something differently, so I would like that in writing. "Oh, you can just trust us. It's going to be on 2 separate paychecks." At this point, I am like, who do I believe? The person that I trust who worked there as a BCBA? Or you, the recruiter? I'm going to trust the person who's already worked there as a BCBA, which means you, the recruiter, are a liar. Red flag number 1. You've already lied to me before I've even accepted the job. I haven't, well, I didn't accept it. I didn't sign the offer yet. But I'm like, you know what? I literally have no other offers. So I'm just like, you know what? Fine, forget it. If it's all on one paycheck, it's all on one paycheck. Whatever. So I didn't trust my gut. I kept going. I signed the official offer, and then red flag number 2 came. Now, this was very unexpected, but I had already, when I passed my exam, I messaged other people who worked there just to tell them that I passed my exam because I knew certain people would have been happy to know that I passed my exam. And they're asking like, "Well, where do you plan on working next?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just going to go back to the job we were all working at once upon a time." And they were just like, by the time I got like more emails from them, they were like, "No, watch your back there. That company burnt me out. They don't care about our health, our mental health. They don't care about our wellness. They have unrealistic expectations. They offer bonuses, but you can't even reach the bonuses." I'm like, oh, now I've already accepted this position. I've already signed my letter and I already have a start date. And I've already put my notice in at my job to stop working Halloween. It was the last day of October, Halloween. I was going to take all of November off so I can enjoy like a 1 month gap in between working, like transitioning. I always try. Anytime I leave a job, I always try to give myself 1 month to transition naturally into rest. And then I was going to start December. Now it is already October. It's November. Oh my gosh, it's November at this point. I've already quit my original job. I am not working. It's like November, I believe, November 13th. Okay, I'm already not working anymore. And I was messaging a staff member there of just like, hey, what are the expectations? What's the transition like? Like, how do you start? And they were telling me like what the expectation were, how the first month's gonna go, and this, that, and the third. And they were telling me all the mandated things that I had to do. I was just like, I'm mandated to show up early some days, not all days, but some days for meetings. I'm mandated to stay late at least once a week. For one, those two things already did not fit into my day-to-day schedule. I cannot be somewhere at 8 a.m. No, they said come in early, so that's 7:30. I can't be somewhere at 7:30 a.m. I have to drop my daughter off at school at 7:45. And then to get to that location, I have to drive 30 minutes. I was going to be late every day. And then I gotta stay late too? And this is where my body was just like, oh, girl. I started feeling like I'm getting knots in my neck again. My back was starting to hurt, and these are my signs of stress. When I am stressed, my body starts to tell me very quickly. I start getting knots, shoulders start hurting, back starts hurting, my neck, I start getting headaches. Like, my body tells me all the time, chill out. So at this point, I'm understanding I am not safe. I don't feel safe, and I am worried. It is November 13th, and I am about to start a new job in 3 weeks. And with that, my body started breaking out in hives. So what I did next was start applying for other positions. I started reaching out to people who I knew, asking them, and I spoke to someone else who I collected my fieldwork hours with. She was still working as an RPT, and I believe at the time she was studying to take her BCBA exam. And I was like, hey, I am just reaching out. Like, I know you work at this location. How is it? Are they hiring? And she was like, yeah, girl, they hiring. If you need a position here as a BCBA. I applied, and it was a lowball offer. I don't know what I'm going to do. I only have one offer, and I don't want to go back there. And then one day I woke up, and I had a notification on Indeed for a position. I accepted the position, like, to have an interview. And I was like, okay, I'll interview. I scheduled an interview, and then I got on my LinkedIn the same day or the next day, and somebody else from that same company was like, hey, such and such, your LinkedIn profile looks amazing. I was wondering if you wanted to have a interview for this position. I'm like, yeah, somebody just reached out to me yesterday, and I accepted the interview. And they were like, oh, great. And I was like, okay, 2 people from the same company have reached out to me on 2 completely different platforms. Okay, this is a good sign. This is a great sign. Hopefully. I did the interview. I was kind of hopeful. I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to accept this job because I literally have no other offers. However, the downside was the fact that this position was remote. It was a remote and community position. I am brand new to this position, and I was just like, I actually am a little nervous because I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to do. So I got on Facebook, in the Facebook groups, and I was asking people like, for your first year as a BCBA, have anybody ever did remote? Has anybody ever did like in-home? Like, how was it? What do you suggest? And everybody, when I tell you everybody, everyone said, don't do it. It's the worst. When your first year or your first 3 years, always start in the clinic. That's where you'll learn the fastest, and that's where you'll get the most growth, and all of these reasons. And I'm like, okay. I have one job that literally made me break out in hives. And then I have another offer that is a little, it brought me relief. I don't know what to expect, but it brought me a lot of relief. But everyone is saying pick this offer. And I'm like, how do I make this decision for my first year as a BCBA so I don't ruin my first year as a BCBA? This is when I knew what I had to do. So I emailed the clinic position and I told them along the lines of, this position does not align with my day-to-day life, which was true. I didn't tell them that it made me break out in hives, because that's true as well. But it genuinely did not align with my day-to-day life. I went with my gut. I accepted the offer, and it was more money. It was way more money, but I didn't accept it because of the money. I genuinely didn't. I went with the job where I was relieved. It was a new experience, and I trusted my gut, because the last time I went into a clinic, that was the most miserable time of my life. I am somebody who has always worked in the community, in the field, in the home, in remote. So I had to take in consideration and go with my own gut that those people, though they may have been trying to help me, they didn't know me. They didn't know my work experience. They didn't understand and know that this is something I've been doing for over 10 years, is working remotely or in the community or in people's homes. I had a skill level that they probably didn't have, and that's why they were suggesting going into the clinic setting. But I tell you all of this to say, you don't owe any job your suffering just because you said yes originally. Quitting that job didn't mean I was flaking out. It didn't mean I was weak or I couldn't accept the challenge. Quitting that job made me feel self-aware. You do not need permission to choose yourself. Now, if you have not watched the harsh truth about your field work hours, so you can know how much I can't stand this position, go ahead and click that video right there. But otherwise, bye.